All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to admin today on this lovely October 1st. Who is going to do, Annie, you're going to do roll call. Okay.
Online, it looks like we have Andrew Torney, Cheryl Hartman, Christina DeWara, Lisa Beckholtz, Kyla Leonard, MCAT, and Melissa Fisher. In 206, we have Commissioner Strohmeyer, Slotnick, and Bureau. Allison France, Carrie Powers, Minnie Pavlish, Ann Hughes, Elise Chard, Maddie Scott, Annie Cassie, Chris Lounsbury. We have, this is hard, Nancy Rattel and Melissa Richards and Michelle Denman.
Moment here.
Okay, thank you for that. Annie, is there any public comment on items not on today's agenda? Any special announcements that anyone might have? Okay, we have a lengthy 25-item consent agenda. Anything that is worthy of further discussion on separate action?
And I think just going through, just noticing that there's some CAS things in here, and there's some the substance abuse prevention money and some of the alcohol tax money. So this is all money that we are dispersing out to nonprofits so they can do their good work.
After a rigorous review process.
Yes.
Nancy is here and others.
Melissa, yeah.
And yeah.
Yes. Well, does anyone want to speak to any of these items on the consent agenda before we?
I'm just a broken record in terms of always appreciating the commission supporting the Community Assistance Fund and the basic needs that are provided for the residents. Food, shelter, medical services, good thing.
Yeah, you do a great job running that process.
And Melissa, you know all of this from both sides, so.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty handy.
Yes.
So we had approved some of these already, is that correct?
These are all new.
No,
These
these
are
are
all
new
the new
ones.
ones.
And then, see you on Thursday as well.
Okay, okay. I would move we pass this consent agenda.
Enthusiastic second.
Any further discussion on the consent agenda or public comment? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that is done. Moving on, we have a request to approve a subrecipient fiscal monitoring policy for the use of all county.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Use of all departments receiving grants that include sub-awards. Who wants to speak to this? Yes, Michelle.
Elise was.
So we spoke to a couple of you last time, but this is just actually bringing the policy back. So findings from our recent audit indicated we needed greater internal controls for all of our grants that include subrecipients. So this policy is going to help all county departments that have those conditions in their grants actually have a policy that they're following so that we are have greater visibility into those subrecipients and how they're contributing to the work. It was very collaborative. We used the coordinated grants team. We went out to departments and invited feedback. It'll be living as people start to use it. We'll probably have to edit it a little bit more. But once it's approved by you guys, we'll take it back out, help them start to implement it. It will live on the auditor's website with the other forms that are there currently, along with, who to reach out to if they need help with it.
Great. Thanks for working on this.
Yeah,
Any
thanks.
questions from anyone?
How are you feeling about it?
Very excited.
Okay.
That is the right answer.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it'll really be helpful rather than like, hey, you should comply with these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Could you talk about subrecipient means what exactly in this case?
So a subrecipient in this case is like the county or one of the departments gets a grant and then they contract with usually a nonprofit, but not always, to do work under those grant conditions.
Like Hope Rescue Mission at TSOS, is that an example or that's?
If we got a grant.
It could be if we got one and we were contracting them to do the work for us. Some of the CAF stuff sometimes has
Okay.
recipients in it. Some of the DOJ grants contract with like the YWCA and RESLA and that.
Okay.
Another good example is every time we get a CWBG grant, we have subrecipients because we're the eligible entity, but it's usually a nonprofit. So be that YWCA, Paparola Center, others, they're the ones who actually get the funding.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
What do you think?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Just sitting here sucking on my lower lip. I will, I move to approve the sub-recipient fiscal monitoring policy.
Further discussion or comment? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you for that. All right, the presenter is blank on this one.
And I'm not sure why, as I added it.
This is selecting a designee related to the ADA appeal process.
Yeah, it is. And luckily we have Vinny and Arwen is online, so I'll rely on them to fill in a lot of the details. So Commissioners, Arwen is our ADA coordinator, as you are aware. And so she works with members of the public and others when they request accommodations from the county. As part of our adopted policies, we're required to have an appeal process. So when we provide an accommodation and someone feels that it is not fully addressing their need, they have the right to appeal what the ADA coordinator has provided as a solution or an accommodation for that person. So this is our first appeal that I'm aware of under our adopted ADA. We have an appeal from a member of the public. And maybe I'll lean on Vinny and Arwen here to give details about this specific one, but what we need to do is make a decision under the policy who you would like to hear that appeal. And so the way it is worded in the policy is that the Board of County Commissioners or their designee shall hear the appeal from the citizen related to the accommodation that we've provided.
And the reason to consider a designee in this case, or like as part of the policy, is because the timeline is very short. It's only 15 days. And so to get you guys together for something in that sort of short time frame is maybe
Impossible.
maybe not possible.
Recommendations on a designee. Are you volunteering?
I am not.
That was kind of wishy-washy. There was some space there.
I am.
All in favor? I think Jimmy's it.
Actually, I think our
County
our department
Office
was
represents us. They can't actually be the designee.
Okay. So does the designee have to be,
Record here.
does it have to be one of us or could
It, it does not. So for example, one of the options, if the full board did not want to hear the appeal inside the time frame that was there, it could be a member of staff. So you could consider your human resource director, your chief people and risk officer, your chief administrative officer. One of you individually could be the person who heard the appeal as opposed to the full board trying to schedule a full board meeting in order to do that. So there are options out there. I want Arwen to have a chance to talk before we talk about who might be the most appropriate for this particular case.
Great.
And we'll do that. So Arwen, I don't know if you have things you'd like to share, but I want to make sure you get a chance since you are our ADA coordinator.
I mean, I will just throw in that, yes, we've never gone through this process unless, Anne, you have any background, but I know in the files, there wasn't anything. It has prompted, we will develop a more in-depth grievance policy. I know it's online, it's pretty bare bones. So maybe for this situation, we can designate somebody and then in the long-term process, have a more solid response plan for who would be, whether it goes to the board or a designee. But yeah, since this situation has brought everything quicker, that's why we're looking for a quicker decision on who wants to be the designee or go through the appeal process.
I had an idea here.
Yeah.
I'm thinking Erica might be great for this, given what she does around people and risk, and also the fact that she's an attorney, and this is heavily laden with attorney-ish type things. I know we have super competent attorneys here as well.
We do.
But what are your
Just another
recommendations,
another
Chris?
mind.
Yeah, so in this particular case, I do think either the chief administrative officer or the chief people and risk officer are the most appropriate. This is just for a very little bit of context. We're not going to go into the full details of what the case is or the complaint is. This is a request for an accommodation around visual materials and providing a space that is adequate for somebody related to some mental health concerns that they have. For a process that is open to the public, but also has some very tight strictures around what can happen in that space because it is considered confidential, even though it is not closed to the public. And so there is some concern around how we provide that accommodation and meet both the spirit of the Americans with Disabilities Act, but also comply with the rules that Montana has put in place around not allowing video and audio recording of those proceedings. And so that's why there's a conflict between the request here because of the visual impairment piece and then this mental health component that would make it difficult for the person to be present in person. So that's kind of the general rough context of what we're dealing with. So I think both Erica would be an appropriate response. Obviously, Erica has a great deal of experience in both the risk and also in the criminal justice kind of attorney world that lives in. I have ancillary experience, for lack of a better term, to that. So I think I would also be, I think it's really just, if the full board does not want, I think those are the two most appropriate. I would defer to you. I don't think there's a wrong.
Who's ever scheduled?
Yeah, what would you like?
Makes a difference to me.
Yeah.
I don't know if the attorney's office has an opinion. So I would defer to Arwen and Vinny, who have more subject matter expertise. So if they feel there's a more appropriate.
Yeah, I don't think between the two there is a necessarily more appropriate person. But I think it could be responsive to the request under some circumstances, unless Arwen thinks there's a problem with that. Because I think your experience might be better for some ADA appeals, and maybe Erica's would be better for others. And so because we're working in a context where the idea that you guys have to decide today is, are we going to designate this to somebody else instead of trying to wrangle ourselves together? That's sort of the decision that's in front of you. And I think it's okay to say that you're not sure who, but for this one, we probably have to say for sure.
So what
Does that make sense?
We're not deciding for all time an attorney. We're just deciding on this.
Because Arwen's going to develop a policy.
So in this moment, we just have to say, okay, the three of us aren't going to do this because of scheduling. We're going to designate someone.
Yes.
And we don't have to say that person's name.
You're saying we do have to say that.
Well, I think for the purposes of this appeal, yeah, you have to
So
say who.
what do you or Erica, what would you like?
I think Erica has more subject matter expertise in this particular case and is probably the most appropriate person. But
Do you have a
again,
sense of scheduling issues?
so we have to do it by the 15th. I think what you could say is that Erica would be your first. If Erica's schedule is not, then your second would be me.
Okay. There's a motion. Is there a second?
Yes.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion of appointing Chris dependent, or Erica predicated on her availability to do so, in which case, if she's not, it would default to Chris. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, who was the first on that?
Eric.
Sorry. Josh, thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Lenny, for the explanation.
Thank
Okay,
you, Arwen.
Thank you,
Thank
Arlen.
thank you. Anything else we need to discuss today? Okay, we're done. Thanks, everyone.
Awesome. Go get those tickets right now.
Thank you.
Thanks.